Yeah, 2001. That tracks.
It is, in fact, a true thing, ladies and gentlemen. Shrek was a long
time ago. I remember seeing it in the theater.
22 years. It's been a minute. Doesn't seem like that, does it? I know on Saturday, Jordan and I, we were discussing watching, maybe one day they will release Shrek with the original voice actor. Do you know who the original voice actor was for Shrek? No.
I probably knew at one time, but I don't now.
The original person to voice the Shrek movie, which was fully recorded, it was just never released, was Chris Farley.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is a true thing.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
There we go. I think everything is together. We should be live. It says we're live, so I'm going to take its word that we are live. I've sent out the No, I haven't. There we go. Oops.
See.
Let's not say we've sent out our notification
yet. Okay.
You're not seeing a live yet? What do you mean?
There it goes. It was just being slow to get going. Okay, we are live.
All right.
My Twitch wasn't. We've been having outages here because we've had a really bad storm. So the internet did blip earlier, so it seems to be okay right now.
So you've been having internet issues?
Yeah.
Let me see.
A little worried about today, but it seems to be.
Report.
Yeah.
Message. Well, we are spamming a bot. Look at that.
Oh boy.
Bot.
Go away, bot.
Tell us more. Bot's gonna bot, yo. And we blocked the user. We had one last night, yesterday.
Yeah, I noticed that.
They can't get through. They're not very good bots. They're not very clever. They're not intelligent, one might say, because they try to post a URL and it just shows up as ...
Oh, okay.
But boy, do they try. All right, so the chat is working. We got about 8 minutes before we're going to go live. We're going to be talking about eggs and containers, open moon rays, and a small, little tiny MNT pocket, which is a horrible name.
Oh, it's so cute.
I mean, not only does the keyboard make noise, it blinks. I mean, what more can you possibly want in a 7-inch laptop?
There's our Theron. I know it's been 2 weeks. Hello, our wonderful advisor, our Theron.
Okay, I got the social medias out. We do that, and we can all pour one out for our ARC cards.
Okay, good. We're getting viewers.
Well, that's what happens when you go live, yeah?
Yep.
There's a connection.
There is.
I'd be worried if they started going down before we go live. Like, wait a minute, how did that work?
I think I'll go take a break. Yeah.
All right.
Right back.
Right, there we go. So we got this is the deal about. We're not going to talk about it on the show. We're going to talk about it more on Saturday. This is from yesterday, everybody. Raja, the head of ARC, recruited from AMD, the guy behind the guy behind Vega, which is kind of poo, is leaving Intel to do work at a startup after helping bring the... There's two ways of looking at this, right? There's two ways of looking at this because everyone always does the OMG panic. Like, remember when Jim Keller came into AMD and designed, helped tape out Ryzen for AMD? And, you know, that's what Jim Keller does. He shows up, he fixes a thing, and he moves on. And he goes on to other things. And everyone's like, oh, no, Jim Keller left AMD. I'm like, yeah, he was done working. So do we think that's what's going on with Raj here? Raj is like, hey man, I've got everything together. I've set everything in motion and we're good. Arc's good to go. Have at it. I'm going to go off and do other cool stuff. Or is this going to be the Arc gets canceled by the end of summer? There's something to think about. There's something to think about. Is the Arc platform going to be a collector's item? Would Battle Mage ever see the light of day? These are not things we know. It's going to be a very, very sad day if Intel pulls the plug on Arc GPUs. It is. Especially when we see rumors earlier this week. Or late last week, I guess I should say. Wait, no, earlier this week, it's Wednesday. That the Intel, not Intel, but the NVIDIA 4060 is going to be an 8 gig card. Demonstrating to each and every one of you that NVIDIA has no chill. They have no interest in us. The consumers. We're not the consumers anymore for NVIDIA. They forgot about us. They have zero interest in selling cards to us. Disdain. Like, go back to be happy with 8 gigs. And you're living in a world where it's 12 and 16 gigs. But NVIDIA would pretty much just like you to go, keep that market segmentation there. No other reason. It's not that it's necessarily a lot more expensive to add another 4 gigs of memory to a card. It's not. It's that perceived value and like what's the low end, what's the mid range, right? But I think that equation changes quite a bit. When your low end card, something like a 4060 is probably going to be $500, right? They're going to try to charge well, I'm not even try. They're going to just charge $500. They don't care if you buy it or not. It's weird, man. It's weird. I'm not a fan of it. Strange times we're headed into. But I do think I got all of our shots set up. I just recompiled OBS and they just added a bunch of fixes. Sometimes I worry about OBS because I see some stuff get approved in the commits. Like, how was that not a thing? I can now control the clock. There we go. So, yep. It's been a while. I got to play around the last 2 weeks. Last week was real fun because we got to play around with Silverblue. And Fedora retweeted that. Not retweeted, retweeted, whatever, on their Mastodon account. And I got to talk with some pretty interesting Fedora people. That was kind of fun. That's a distance soundtrack, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Go away. There we go. Oh, man. It's not been too bad. I got a bunch of stuff. I got a very interesting video I need to film. I don't even want to do it, but I'm going to do it. I didn't even buy the thing to film a thing to do the thing, but we're going to get it because it's hilariously how bad it's designed. It's a piece of tech equipment that we'd all just buy. You just buy it off Amazon cheap. It's like under $20. You're like, oh yeah, I need to pick up one of these. And I'm gonna pick up one. And it's so comically, I can't tell anyone about it because it's a spoiler. It's gonna be like a 5-minute video. We're gonna have a good time with it. I still gotta film it.
Cool.
I had no intention of filming it or recording it, but I'm like, this is hilarious.
Hi, Steve husband. Yay. Hi, Jalad. I see you typing.
Feel bad for you, Steve. Joe forgot about you.
No. Yeah. God, I'm still stuck on that job I did with Moonray. I don't remember.
I hadn't seen Steve in chat in a couple of days, and I'm like, what happened to old Steve? I went looking through the audit logs on Discord, and Discord is modified how they do the bot for Patreon. And so you can't really do like custom roles anymore. You can't like overlap custom roles. I can't take a person that's in a Patreon role and just like put them in there. If the bot sees that, he's like, no. So I had to move Steve's role to a legacy role.
Yeah, thank you, Vin, for doing that. I was gonna boop you and say,
no, it's cool. I'm talking to Steve right now, Joe, because you forgot about him. It was like 3 whole days.
No, honestly, we thought he's been having issues with his cell phone, so I thought it was something to do with that. I didn't realize that he couldn't get in.
3 days. I got you, Steve. Don't worry about it. I got you. Old Steve Husbando just got too quiet. I was like, thumbs up.
Yeah.
It's like, did Steve just finally drive up to Canada and disappear? So we got that figured out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben.
All right, everybody. That's looking good. That's looking good. Let's go underworm. I got that lined up. Here we go. And remember, everyone, hurry up and go buy an Intel art card today and save it as a collector's item before they cancel them.
Oh, return video, Vin? Not getting return video. Or
At
I'm getting
all?
video. I'm getting just your camera. Not the other goodies. Chat, there we go.
Let me see.
And there for me. There we go. Now it is.
All right.
Now I got the chats and all the things.
That is good. That is good. Let's bounce that. That's in good shape. LGC outro. We got that. Is there anything else we need? No, I think we're good to go. I am recording. Using Reaper for recording. I'm running 2 sessions of Reaper, which is kind of strange, but I've almost perfected it.
Oh, yeah. I remember you were testing that out the last LWW.
It's very beneficial for people who listen to the live and uncut. It drastically improves our audio quality. And it gets rid of having to deal with Audacity.
Oh, nice. Reaping the audio.
Yeah, I think we are good to go. So let me hit that. Let's hit a record button. Let's get underway for that Linux show. Number 367. In 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, daily Wednesdays where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source. I am Vin Stone, that was Jill Bryant, and you, well, hopefully you're just you at home watching this live, twitch.tv/Linux Gamecast if you get a chance, but listen to us after the fact because we are genuinely available everywhere. Yeah. And YouTube has decided that we're a podcast now. This was kind of interesting. You know, YouTube's had a podcast section, but there was no way to be a podcast on YouTube. YouTube just had to bless you. I'm like, yes, you're a podcast. I know a lot of you, rightfully so, going YouTube as a podcast section. I was like, I understand. Completely understandable.
Yeah.
You know, to be 100% honest with you, I'm not sure YouTube realizes it has a podcast section. But we got a notification for, you might, if you have a YouTube channel as well, or if you're looking to make podcasts and put them on YouTube, you should have an option, or it might just be a beta thing that they're trying out that could go away tomorrow, to turn a playlist into a podcast. What does that do? I don't know. YouTube didn't get that far in the explanation, but it has given me the option to turn this from a regular playlist into a podcast, which allegedly does something different than a regular playlist. Remains to be seen. More at 11. We'll find out a little bit later. But I do want to thank the Fedora project for, what do you call it? Retooting on Mastodon?
Yeah. Actually, it's called Publish now. So republishing.
That's dumb. We're just going to call it retooting.
Retooting is better.
Yeah, because Joe's off doing scale. So I had something I rarely have, which is like a block of free time. to do things that I just do not get the chance to do. And one of those things was installing a distribution live. And I wanted to play around with Silverblue from Fedora.
Nice.
And that's what I did last week, which was fun. And playing around with it on real hardware. You know, because how boring is it when somebody goes, I'm reviewing this on a VM? I'm like,
yeah.
You coward, put that on a PC. You don't learn anything from a VM. So we put it on the Rectangle, the 5600G, got it installed, and it was fun because it quickly turned into Twitch installs Fedora Silverblue, and it, gets people out of the woodworks, dropping their hints and allegations and thoughts and how things should go. And I was learning a lot because I've never touched Silverblue, knew very little about Flatpaks. But I was able to get Steam installed. That wasn't the problem. We got Half-Life up and running. No problem.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun. Just to put a bow on the joke, I also installed XFCE.
Woohoo, of course.
And the entire time, Jill, I complained about a very honest review of GNOME.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I figured you might.
Why is this like this? Why is this? This makes no sense. And, but at the end of the day, and I said it during the video, I think I saved myself a lot of blowback because I was serious and honest from the bottom of my heart when I said, you might think I'm complaining a lot about GNOME, but nobody I know complains about GNOME more than GNOME users. So spare me your feedback.
Yeah.
It was a good time, and I got to talk to one of the people behind the Silverblue project with the XFCE, so that was kind of fun.
Oh, awesome, Van.
Had a good time. How about you? Did you do anything? Did you guys
gosh. Just slightly. We haven't had LWW in 2 weeks because of my adventures at the Southern California Linux Expo 20X. And it was absolutely amazing. It was really a fantastic scale, and our numbers of the attendance was much better than the pre-pandemic numbers. The last two scales previous to this one were a third the size. So it was nice to be back at full speed again, and it was what was so awesome for me.
You guys kind of had like scale back to back though.
Yeah, we did because last year it was postponed from March to July. So it only been 8 months since the last scale for this year's.
And that might sound like a lot, but there's a lot of planning that goes into that. So you lose 3 months of time.
I was rushing. I felt like I never had enough time. So that was hard. It all came through at the end, but it was. Yeah, there was a lot of rushing those last few months. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got 3. It's in less than 3 months, instead of 3 months more. So that was definitely a thing. And it was for me, it was so wonderful because I had my 3 community booths next to each other at scale, and it made it so much easier for me working my Text Digital booth and Linux Chicks-LA booth, and having my friends at the Lutris booth right around the corner. And that was awesome. And this year, Strider had lots of help at his Lutris booth. We had Empty in our LGC chat, who missed last year's scale, but came to this one. And it was so wonderful being with him again. And we had Glorious Egg Roll, a well-known Proton and Lutris developer, and our patron in chat. Woohoo! And Alex Sipes from our chat was there too, and it was wonderful to meet him. He's such a cheerful and upbeat guy. I loved him to death. And at the Linux Chicks-LA booth, as you see, there's a picture scrolling with me and John Mad Dog Hall. At the Linux Chicks-LA booth, we won the Best Scale Spirit Award. And right when I was presented with the award, here comes John Mad Dog around the corner to talk to me at the booth. And I got to spend about a half hour with him, and he told me stories about how he helped, and Linus Torvalds helped start the Linux Chicks organization, worldwide organization. So that was really, really special. He's Linux royalty, Mad Dog is. So, wow, that was so cool. And we also had some awesome raffles at our Linux Chicks-LA booth, and we got $500 in donations. we raffled off a 49-inch TV, a Samsung TV sound system, and a laptop.
You gotta get a Samsung.
Samsung. But we had just such a wonderful time. You probably saw one of the pictures of us at one of our dinners on Thursday night, and that was wonderful to have all my 3 communities together: LGC, LWW, Linux Chicks LA, and Tux Digital, and to have everyone together. It was awesome. And it made it so much easier for me. So I didn't have to run from one side of the expo hall to the other to work booths. It was awesome.
So did you do anything fun?
Oh, absolutely. The dinners were some of my favorite part, just being able to chat with everyone. And then, just meeting viewers and patrons, and working the conference as well. So other people get to go to all the talks and everything. And I only got to go to 2 talks.
Which ones did you get to go to?
So I got to go to Nova King's talk on his Stardust XR VR desktop implementation, and that was incredible. And then I got to see the one of the creators of Unix for the final keynote, and that was really, really cool.
Did he say anything, or did they just wheel him out like on a dolly?
They wheeled him out.
Everyone just take a look. All right.
Yeah. Thompson, he actually didn't talk about Unix at all during the talk. It was about one of his hobbies.
Good on him. I would have showed up really and like, fun. Hey man, we're going to talk about ham and spaghetti.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was an incredible scale, and I worked really hard, but it was so worth it. And I want to put a shout out, thank you to Alan, who is our cameraman for Tux Digital. And yeah, we got to hire him. That was cool.
Good times. So, penguins lay eggs. This is a fact. They do. This is nothing you can dispute. You might be like, nah, man, penguins lay squares or dodecahedrons. I'm like, nah, man, it's eggs all the way down. And I'm not just talking about that because I'm trying to hit you with science. No, I'm not. I'm doing it because I want to tell you about a fun little tool that I ran across. And maybe you're familiar with something like this. You're looking at this. You're like, hey, this seems a little bit familiar, Ben. I'm like, yeah, all right. Because you remember Knoppix way back in the day? Oh,
love Knoppix.
A live CD you could pop in, put it in, play around with it. Now you can basically just turn your system into a live ISO or installable ISO. And that's pretty cool. And you might be thinking, hey, Ven, Norton Ghost, Clonezilla, you could do this, but you could do it with this, and you can create a clean slate if you want. You can wipe all the user information. It's like equipping your machine with a reproductive system. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is.
And it does support Debian, Ubuntu, Arch, Manjaro, which is also Arch, and I had a good time with it. Okay, let me rephrase. What do I mean by a good time? I tried to get it set up through the GitHub repo, right? No.
Yeah.
No. Just let that go. Let that go. Let me show you what I ended up having to do. You go to penguineggs.net, then you go to Debs, which takes you to SourceForge. And there's some recent AMD 64 Debs, and I did that, and I did the apt install from there, and that was able to pull all the needed dependencies.
Nice.
And I just ran it right from the command line just to test on the box that you're using right now, Jordan's box, which is the rectangle that we had silver blue on last week.
Oh, yes. Cool.
In about 2.5 minutes, it had pulled the system together, packed it up, and created a nice little ISO installable image ready to go.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so wonderful. Yeah, Penguin Eggs, I've noticed it's so very well thought out. It's a very, it's a wonderful app to remaster your system for installation via live USBs. And it allows you to use a CLI installer or a GUI Calamares installer of your remastered image, which I thought was really cool. Most of the other options out there don't have GUI and command line. They have one or the other usually.
Oh, it desperately tried. And it's like, hey, do you want to install the GUI? No, I don't know. Get that away from me. I just use it from command line.
Yeah. Well, years ago, I tried many utilities to copy a Linux system to live USB with varying success. Because, when you have a system, like I had one of my animation computers with probably over 100 animation programs and their configurations, and I didn't want to have to, reinstall that on another machine for my render farm. So I used to use, there was a Debian one I used to use years ago for doing this. But this is so much easier. And, being able to have this option is just such a time saver, especially when you have hundreds of apps that need to be installed and their configurations.
When you need a clean system, this is what you're going to be looking at. It's not necessarily the apps, it is the individual specialized configuration that I would run into them.
Yeah.
In this particular, because I need a lot of backend stuff custom configured to run real-time audio.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben.
And
this would be a good option for you.
Just straight up applications at all. This is system config files and all that. But you do have the option to just snapshot it as the user. You can do a clean install like you normally would, or you can, do what Norton Ghost or Clonezilla does, is just clone the drive. And that's what I traditionally do, is I clone the drives. They're ready to go. Each of these PCs has another drive in it ready to go, just in case, because I'm that type of person when it comes to doing live stuff. Like boom, 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 we're done. But it's good to have these because these are a lot smaller than just a
hard drive image.
Yeah, just like 2 gigs. Have that sitting around. It's there. Link's going to be in the show notes. Go play around with it. And, there's no such thing as a bad backup option. So maybe this is something you might want to look into for like quick deployment or just to have around the house. Once you get everything set up on your PC, just so. We're not talking about your games and all of your music, but just that core system.
Yeah.
Penguin eggs.
When you need to go to work quickly.
Yeah, just get it back up in less. This is the kryptonite. This is kryptonite to distro hoppers, though.
Yes.
Like, ew, that takes all the fun out of it. Like, I enjoy the Insta. I don't. I just want it to be back up and running. So we had something happen, Jill, because we got to mention about this, and then we talked about it on the show about 7 months ago.
Yes.
Those wacky kids over at DreamWorks had an announcement.
Yeah. So this is, huge news. DreamWorks Animation has just released Moonray, its in-house developed animation software as open source. Woohoo! So Moonray is a state-of-the-art Monte Carlo ray tracing renderer developed by DreamWorks engineers, which has been used on features films such as How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek, The Bad Guys, the upcoming Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, and of course will be used, in future titles for the company. And this is just wonderful news. And honestly, DreamWorks is no slouch in their support for open source. They have provided many open source animation plugins, APIs, and apps like OpenDCX, USD Manager, Forest Flow, and Open Subdiv or Open Subdivision, to name a few. And a lot of animators out there have used a lot of these plugins and APIs, including me. And DreamWorks also has created animation plugins for Blender. I've known a few people over the years that work at DreamWorks, and the last few years have been really working on a lot of plugins for Blender, and they use Blender in-house as well. And, me and Ven were talking earlier when I was doing professional freelance work in animation, I had the opportunity to use Moonray, and I remember loving it, but I couldn't remember. It was so long ago. I couldn't remember exactly what I used it for. And I just kind of remembered I had to convert the configuration file to use it for RenderMan and bringing in my 3D Studio and Maya projects into RenderMan. So that was a thing. I used the plugin. Oh boy. And it's just so wonderful for us animators to have another open source industry standard option. And thank you, Artharen, our advisor, for putting this in our show suggestions. Yeah, as Ven was saying, we've talked about it quite a while ago, and now it's official. They made the official announcement.
It's been a minute. Yeah, I had to go back and look. It's like, I know we've talked about this. I'm just going over their website, looking at a bunch of things. And You know what? You know, the code base is available. You can get it right now. openmoonray.org. It's under Apache 2 license, open source. Good. You know, it's some people think that's not perfect, but you know what? Perfection's the enemy of good enough. So here we are, and I'm very happy to see this. And they've been working with a small set of beta testers to make sure the code base is easy enough to get up and running outside of the DreamWorks pipeline. So that was very good, forward thinking on them instead of just dumping everything, sanitizing it, and say, here, have fun. The source does use CMake, so you're familiar with that. I'm familiar with that. Not a problem there. Hunting down the dependencies, that was a bit of a chore. Had some fun with that. Fortunately, they have the dependencies listed on the page, on their GitHub page, which is really nice to see. We can take a look at those real quick.
There were quite a few of them.
Nothing earth-shattering. Let's go ahead and take a sneak peek over here. Cloning, building, Moonray. The documentation's kind of all over the place, and you got to dig it around, but the dependencies, nothing crazy, but Boost, Lua, Python, something that's probably going to pull up some hackles. CUDA, you need CUDA, which also means you need Optics SDK from NVIDIA in order to get this done. You know, Qt, micro HTTP, Ember, nothing completely crazy, but it would be helpful. It would be helpful if somebody just stacked all that together for the Debian packages and the RPM packages. And there's a couple of different threads right now on getting OpenMoonray up and running on, we don't call it CentOS, Rocky Linux and Ubuntu Debian variants and the like, which is really good to see. And, you know, it's good. I was very happy to see that it has GPU support built into it, because traditionally, large house animation rendering farms are CPU based, because for the technical reasons I won't go into, but just recently you're starting to see like mid-scale and smaller scale taking advantage of the massive parallelization in GPUs, and this is Moonray is able to take care of that. And I saw the optics and I'm like, that's awesome. That's really good to see. And because, you know, smaller scale work, stuff we're going to be doing ourselves. And, you know, when we get like Lux render level integration into Blender eventually down the road, that's where things are going to get like super interesting when we start seeing that type of integration with this. You know, always stuff I'm interested in, definitely outside of my wheelhouse, but I'm glad to just have these tools available. This is a very weird thing to look at in 2023 when you go back to 2001. Like, you know, applications like this, you had to know somebody to even know they existed. And, you know, people weren't openly talking about them. Right. You know, these were trade secrets. So just, it's really cool. It was one of the good things about 2023.
Yes. Woohoo.
Anything else you want to cover on that? It's a lot of movies have been made. We went looking at that, like the original Shrek, Puss in Boots, How to Train Your Dragons.
Yeah, it's just nice, you know. I've been using RenderMan for years and years because it, you know, they did eventually put out a free version, so it still has some proprietary blobs in it, but it's still, you know, you can download it and use it, and it's nice to see DreamWorks, you know, that this is kind of their competitor to that, so nice.
It's pretty fascinating. You know what else is fascinating? When I check the emails and I see that we have new people joining us at patreon.com/Linux Gamecast, helping us out because, hey, we throw in a bunch of stuff to sweeten the deal. If you need a lot of extra Linux Gamecast or just Linuxy stuff to listen to, I got the Live and Uncut series just for you. You listen to these shows, they're about 30 minutes. The full Live and Uncut version is about an hour and a half. Linux Gamecast weeklies, like 4 or 5 hours long if you include the pre-super shows. And then speaking of that, if you want to find out the behind the scenes, how the sausage is made, that's what we do in the pre-super shows. And you could even check in that live. I know Jill does on Saturdays. Jill poppin'. What else we got? We got merch, a bunch of other stuff, access to our show notes, live video feeds of the pre-shows and stuff like that. Just stick around. You see anything that entices you, then come say hi in our Discord. Because that's another thing that you can do by becoming a patron. Now, we need to thank 2 new patrons and somebody who has increased their pledge.
Yeah, so We have NMag, who has increased his pledge.
Jill, how dare you? It's N_mag.
Oh, N_mag. Yeah, increased his pledge. Thank you, N_mag. And Glorious Egg Roll is a new Patreon. we got him back. Woo! Because, we got to meet him at scale and we encouraged him to become a patron again. And he'd been watching for years, and he has been a patron in the past, but he hadn't been in our Discord. So that was really cool.
And Blasphemo.
Yeah.
Blasphema?
Blasphema. That's so hard to say. BLASPHMIA. Blasphemia. Blasphemia.
Just call him Blasty.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun talking to him in chat. Awesome.
Good times. Always glad to see new people showing up. And what was it? Biatko has started hanging out with us. He running a bit late on because we do a thing on Tuesdays and Fridays that we hadn't even mentioned this. We thought we were going an entire week without mentioning what we do on Tuesdays and Fridays, and that's Trackmania. That's what we did last night. We got our own little private Trackmania server that we get together as an excuse to hang out. It doesn't matter if it's puzzle platforming. And if you're looking for a good crippling addiction, it's got you covered. Or if you need to reignite an old one, like some people have, they're like, I remember playing this game. Like, oh, it's back. And it hits differently when you have a group of people together, and we put together 14 new tracks each and every week. We go through it, we have fun, and we have a little pseudo competition on Friday. Calling it a competition is just an excuse to laugh at each other as we're trying to race for points.
Yeah. Get over obstacles.
Yeah. It's maximum silliness. So if you need that in your life, you can. Well, broom to you too, Mr. Carr.
Yeah.
That was loud.
Loud, yeah.
You can do that if you're a patron or if you're a Twitch sub. It's just there to make sure we're not, because we're trying to keep it under 12 people. Because after 12 people, it gets kind of haywire because we do live chat, video and audio. If you want, you don't have to be. We got some people like, I don't want to talk or listen to you people. I just want to come race, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
And your times are, we're somewhere around like 2015 right now because we're archiving, pulling up old tracks, and we're working our way to the future. But we're also able to compete on a universal like letterboard. Like it is accepted as Detamania. And it's fun going back, and we're setting like, new scores on old maps and confusing. We're like, what are these randos doing? So come hang out with us. Have a good time. Love to see you. Love to chat with you. And we do thank you for your support. Now, let's talk about spending money.
Yeah.
With a pocket. Now, I saw this.
Gives me nerd chills.
I saw this.
And open hardware. This is MNT Pocket Reform.
No, look at it, Jill. It's blinking.
It's beautiful.
It's horrible.
It's unicorn vomit.
Okay, now I know what you're thinking. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Yes, 100% you're correct. That is a Zippo lighter and a cigarette case.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Why?
I didn't notice that before.
Because I used to carry around a Zippo lighter and a cigarette case. That's the first thing that popped out. I was like, oh, I remember being a teenager. Okay. Here's the real thing. Not only does this keyboard blink, it's also mechanical, Jill.
Yeah.
It makes noise. It's not satisfied with hurting your eyes. It wants to hurt your ears as well. But this is the MNT Pocket Reform, and they've already raised enough to get it. Their initial goal is $135,000. They got $183,651. Pretty decent for really a quad-core ARM Cortex A53, clocked at 1.8 gigajoules, 8 gigs of RAM. Okay. It's got the Vivante G7, what's that, 700 UL GPU? That's not too bad. It's open source hardware, which is good. Mm-hmm. And it's got that horrible keyboard that blinks and makes noise, Joe. NVMe drive.
Yes, he's got an NVMe drive. Well, to me, then, this little laptop looks like one of the best options for a portable Linux computer that fits in the space, literally, between a smartphone and full-size laptop.
I can only assume he was stabbing the keyboard.
Yeah. And yeah, it has that Rainbow Vomit mechanical keyboard. But something I was really happy about, it has an awesome micro-optical trackball to boot. I miss the days of laptops coming with a real trackball. I have several in my collection from the 90s that have trackballs, and I've always loved the trackball on laptops. That's just brilliant because it's so sensitive. And
well, you know my favorite thing about like trackballs on laptops?
What, Ben?
Having to disassemble the entirety of the laptop just to clean the trackball.
Oh, yeah, that is a thing. I know the compact ones were easier to clean.
Well, okay, now here's my first thought, because I have definitely had laptops in the past that had trackballs, and they had keys on them where you could turn the lock mechanism and pull the ball out.
Yeah, pull it up. Yeah, I remember that. And the Pocket Reform also has a 7-inch diagonal full HD 1920 by 1200 display. That's one of my favorite aspect ratios. It's HD plus, as we used to call it. And the price is really option. The price options were really cool. So they ranged from $899 to $1,369. And there is even a purple option. If you're watching the live video, you can see that there is a black one or a purple one you can choose from, which is really cool. And some of the kits, you can just get the little mini laptop itself, or you can get a kit with all kinds of goodies with it, like a poster. Comes with a poster and lots of cool swag, so you can talk about show how much you love your Pocket Reform. And I want all the goodies with it, so I want the more expensive one.
And when I look at something like this, and initially, if you keep track of what it takes to get stuff made, I'm quickly scrolling back. When you see like $100,000, $120,000, $130,000, as opposed to things that we've talked about in the past that were like, oh, we just wanted like $60,000. There's a difference here. These haven't been made yet.
Mm-hmm.
They still got to do the production runs. So they're not only are they got to get everything. They got their bill of material together. I think they're ready to go. They're pretty sure they just haven't put in that big order. And, they mentioned that at the end. That's nothing to get scared of. You just got to understand that there are risks and challenges versus some other projects where, I said, oh, these things are they're already made. They're just waiting to see how many they need to ship out.
Yeah.
When can they expect to get these fulfilled, though?
What? I did look, but I didn't find that. Let's see. March? No, March 21st is their technical walkthrough. Two
updates. I mean, it is funded. Funding ends at...
Maybe under view purchasing options. Let's see.
Orders placed now, ship May 31st, 2023. Okay, that's for the shirt. October 17th.
Okay, there we go.
All right. So October is not next month. So
no,
what?
It's only
6 months.
Yeah. Only a few months away for something that looks so finished in the video.
I want to be fair.
Beautiful.
It is a very chunky palm top. It is not.
Yeah.
It is not svelte by any stretch of the imagination. This is clearly something that you can print,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a part of that event is because it's modular. So you can later, upgrade your CPU
Framework's going to get onto you?
Yes.
Framework's like, oh, you know what? Ours is modular too, Jill, and it's super thin.
Yeah, this is true, but this is mini. This is really tiny. Absolutely.
Man. Yeah, this is just a fun project. I like this. And I mean, it's boutique pricing, which, I've talked about. Like, this is a small run. So, like, $8.99. That's not crazy. I didn't see an option for just the board itself. I see, like, the antennas and stuff like that. Like, I would be interested in just maybe the board.
Okay. Yeah, I'm putting it into, like, a little box or something.
Or just have the option to play around and experiment with,
Yeah.
And, but, I wish them the best. And there'll be a link to where you can go check this out yourselves in our show notes. And, the Pocket PC thing, if you're a fan of netbooks, more of that, except this one's got a clicky, blinky mechanical keyboard and a trackball.
Yeah, and a nice trackball. And, oh, it's got a cellular antenna, too. That's sweet.
I don't know, man. I was talking about Wi-Fi the other a couple of weeks ago, and somebody, oh boy, I ran into this, like, the Wi-Fi will give you the brainworms. Like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just every time there's a new version of cellular or Wi-Fi, people are, like, oh, it's going to kill us. Radio waves are going to kill us.
You know what's going to kill us? The sun.
Yeah, absolutely.
The chief radio wave. Beautiful people. Thanks for showing up. It's good to be back doing what we do. We got to run, and see you again next week. Stop in Discord. Stop in IRC. We got IRC. We got a YouTube channel. Every time they say this, non-ironically, yes, we do have a YouTube channel. It's just /Linux Gamecast. You'll find it. Last week I brought that up, and someone went, "Wait, what?" Yeah, right. We do. We will be there, and we have a channel on Odyssey as well. So
yeah, we do.
I don't know what the link is. Do a search for
Odyssey. And you can watch the video on Spotify too, as well.
Anywhere else?
Well, Twitch, of course.
There's Twitch.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, man, because I don't do a lot of vanity searches for my projects. I just like, but I know when I do like a Linux Gamecast or whatever search, I see stuff I don't even know exists. But anyway, you know the drill. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Blobka the dog and Chad for joining us. Thank you so much. And oh boy, I want to thank everyone again who came out to the Southern California Linux Expo. You guys, everyone, Glorious Egg Roll, Empty, Alan, Mir, Alex, you guys you made it the best week of the year for me. Very special. Yay! And thank you to all our wonderful patrons and viewers. Without you, this wouldn't have happened. LWW
and I hope
wouldn't have
every
happened.
single one of you that was just mentioned remembers to say, hey, I remember seeing Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm sure. All right, 367, everybody. Let's bounce out of here.
Love you all.
We'll see you next week. Bye, Alt.
Bye, Alt. Steve Husband, do you see the nice pictures of you?
There were nice pictures of Steve?
Yeah.
Where?
I love that picture with me and Matthew and Empty and my hubby at Matthew's house. That's one of our best pictures. Do, 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 do.
I thought you said a nice picture of Steve. That's not a nice picture of Steve.
Oh.
He's got googly eyes on him and a mustache and a top hat. I'm sorry. It's what I'm going to do to your picture in a minute, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of them because we've got that close up and then the one of us at dinner. I had a lot of pictures of him at working our Linux Chicks booth, but none of them were straight on. So they were all like side pics.
Being an imager is so strange.
Yeah.
I remember being in the conversation thread talking to the guy who created it when he was like, hey, I'm thinking about, like, what do you guys think about? Because we thought it was a dumb name.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember.
And we were talking back and forwards, and just a Reddit thread. Like, he was like, all right. And like, but it was kind of cool, like a neat idea to be able to just post images because you remember, like Image Bucket and places like that. There wasn't a place on the internet to just upload a picture real quick.
Yeah.
And share it to people. They wanted you to create an account like Flickr and stuff like that, and they want to put ads on it, and like times have changed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Imager really, they really changed the way photos were shared on the internet. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
For us here at Linux Gamecast, when we used to use IRC, we had to rely on Imager to show each other pictures. So in fact, all my whole Imager history is with Linux Gamecast. All my pictures I've got posted on here.
As much as I've used Imager, I don't think I've ever created an account.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I did. But that is nice that you have the option of not having to.
I don't know, Don. If I did that, then the Wi-Fi could read it. That doesn't make any sense. Nobody think about that too hard. That's a joke.
Yeah.
Come on, I got faith in you. All right, so I need to get that together. Yeah. So I gotta record a very silly video. I gotta do a very serious video. What else do I have going on the rest of this week? I think that's the only, like, internet stuff I gotta do. What do you got for the internet stuff you're doing this week, Joe? What's
boy.
new?
So I'm probably pre-recording an episode of Destination Linux because Ryan is moving from Georgia to Texas for work. So it's just, our schedule has been all over the place. I'm doing an interview with a new podcast on Saturday. And then on Sunday night, we have our first annual Linux Chick-fil-A meeting since Scale. So we're going to have a lot of people show up for that. A virtual meeting. Yeah. So I'm pretty busy. And then I've got to practice for Trackmania for Friday night. That's fun, though. It's all fun. I love it all. Oh, boy. Yeah, you're silver blue. I watched about a half hour of it. I kind of watched the first 15 minutes and then I forwarded through to the second. I need to go through and watch the whole thing. Yeah, because I heard you talking about GNOME and poor Ben. I was thinking, because I use flat packs all the time, and partly it's because I have my Steam Deck. So I'm using them because I use my Steam Deck, the desktop also. So but before that, I was using flat packs a lot in just for testing software and whatnot, and then playing around with it in BlendOS and Vanilla OS is another one that I've used. So I'm glad you got to play around with flat packs. It is pretty sweet. They are pretty sweet.
It's horrible, I do.
Yeah, you still don't like containerized software.
No, I have no problem with containerized software. Containers on the desktop's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
And nobody's changed my mind on that yet. I invite. I was like, hey, I'm not going to be adversarial to you. If anybody wants to come on the show and explain to me why containerization on the desktop is a good idea for the end user, why it's a good idea for the end user, explain it to me.
It's better for cloud and server.
Not for the developer, not for the maintainer, not for the packager, but the end user. Why containerization is better for the end user. Explain that to me in a way that makes sense, then we're good. Until you can do that, like, I'm still going to try it out. I'm going to play around with it.
Yeah. I still prefer app images, but what is kind of nice is a lot of the software that has app images now, they create flat packs as well. It's becoming more and more universally used.
The thing,
that's nice.
The biggest halting point for Flatpaks and snaps is having to have another system in place to manage your Flatpaks or snaps. And Canonical's not giving up on snaps.
Yeah.
So we're going to have these two competing systems, and Flatpak's going to win. But it's like, this is definitely... Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Having options is always a good thing. Even if you don't like snaps, or maybe you don't like Flatpaks and you love snaps. Having player 2 in the game is always a good thing, because sometimes player 1 can disappear for unexpected reasons. But just having competition is a good thing too.
Yeah. Well, it's also nice for just testing out the latest in the version of the software that you don't necessarily get. Like, I'm using Ubuntu right now, and you don't often get the latest versions unless you compile it or whatever.
Oh, you're running.
So it's nice to download it.
The Ubuntu spin of Debian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Silverblue was interesting. I mean, it worked better than I thought it was going to work. We didn't run into any major... You know, there's just like... I try to come at these things honestly.
Yeah.
Which is missing from our landscape of cheerleaders. There's no shortage of, you know, Linux enthusiasts and Linux cheerleaders. Critical people trying to get in the right mindset of like, let's come at this from the view of a normal person. And when I open up apps and games and I go to games, Gnome, the Steam button needs to be in the top left-hand corner.
Yeah.
Because we both know that's what I'm there for.
Yeah.
Would you argue with this? Like, what do you think most people trying to install games on Linux? Are they trying to install Mahjong 3D?
No, it's Steam. So it is interesting what the Steam Snap is doing, though, integrating the video drivers. I know someone who was just using Nouveau on a computer just to do a test and downloaded the Steam Snap. I think it was Popey or Wimpy, and it was neat to be able to get the NVIDIA drivers with the Steam client.
So they're finally catching up to Flatpak.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I decided, because I wanted to test Flatpaks, and I did that, like maybe a year, 2 years ago, or whatever. And I'm like, let's install Steam with a Flatpak, and it downloaded. And I'm like, why is this multi-gigabytes? Because it was downloading the proprietary NVIDIA drivers.
Yes, that's true.
And everything else.
My only complaint about Flatpak is in the command line is doing the, having the paste in the name and doing the name ... It's kind of annoying. They can simplify that a little bit.
Yeah, the syntax, one of the things about Flatpak, I will say about Silverblue is not out of the box, not having FlatHub enabled.
Yeah.
Like that just seems like a grievous oversight. I don't know what egos are in place or who thinks that's a good idea. It's not a good idea. That's bad for the end user sitting there trying to use it. It's adding extra steps for no meaning, especially when you have an option, or make it an option in the installer, because when you're installing Silverblue, it's like, hey, would you like to add third-party repositories? I kind of thought that's what FlatHub was.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I like how Pop! OS does it. Some of the Ubuntu spins do a nice job of it in their software centers, where it actually asks you, do you want to install the deb or do you want to install the Flatpak? And that's really cool.
But I think it's like absolutely critical when you're dealing with like Silverblue, which only works with Flatpaks.
Flatpaks. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like having three options is whatever. Like, welcome to the nightmare of packaging stuff on Linux, I guess.
Yeah. The future of immutable systems.
I'm sure that's going to make somebody happy.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Endless OS was another one. That was probably one of the first ones I started using Flatpaks with. Playing around with Endless OS.
I think I played around with Endless OS.
Yeah. We did a long time ago. We talked about it. WW.
Being able to roll back a system is good, but I mean, that's what ButterFS is for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Butters FS.
It's just that, like, I understand, like, having an immutable blick for a desktop. Okay. Like, if you need it. Like, I would never go through the hassle of running Silverblue as a desktop.
Yeah.
Because If you get a chance, go back and watch the live stream when I had to install HTOP. I'm like, wow, we got to do all this. Do you need to reboot to install HTOP? Yes. You have to reboot the system because it's a system app. Like any system app you install in Silverblue, you have to restart the system. So that means that you need to get a collection of like system apps that you want to install. If there's ever a situation where you have a bunch of stuff open, you're like, oh no, I need to install this one thing in order to do this. You're going to have to save everything carefully and shut down the system and restart it, then open everything back up with that one app. That's a small problem, but I understand why it's there. It's not, I'm not knocking on it from a point of ignorance. I'm just saying from usability, there's some problems there. So, that's going to do us. We're about 4 o'clock. So enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody.
Yeah. Bye, Dawn. Bye, Steve husband. Bye, Jalad. Bye, Artherin.